This is a tough one. We're talking about saying goodbye to our furry best friends. Let's discuss 12 subtle signs your dog might be nearing the end. First up is something that can really tug at your heartstrings, when your dog just doesn't seem interested in the things they used to go bonkers for. You know, like their favorite squeaky toy that used to drive you insane. Suddenly it's just a lump of rubber to them. Or those treats they'd practically sell their souls for. Yeah, those might get left in the bowl. And it's not just things, it can be people too. Your dog, who normally goes ballistic when someone walks in the door, might barely lift their head. It's heartbreaking, I know. But here's the thing. It's not because they don't love you anymore, their little bodies are just running out of steam. So give them extra cuddles, reassure them, and know that even if they're not bouncing off the walls, they still feel you there. Remember when your dog used to be a furry little tornado of energy, bouncing off the walls, demanding walks at the crack of dawn? Yeah, those were the good old days. As dogs get older, and especially as they near the end, that boundless energy starts to fade. You might notice your dog sleeping more, or choosing to chill in their bed instead of following you around like they used to. And hey, sometimes a nap is just a nap, but if it feels like they're constantly glued to that one spot, it could be a sign that their body is telling them to slow down. Getting up, playing fetch, even walking to their food bowl, it all takes more energy than they've got. If your pup is struggling to get up, or seems unsteady on their feet, it's time for some extra TLC. Whatever it is, adjust to their new pace and be there to lend a paw. Alright, this next one is tough to talk about, but super important to pay attention to. As dogs get closer to the end, their breathing can change. You might notice them panting even when they're just chilling, like they just finished a marathon even though they haven't left the couch. Or their breaths might get really shallow, or spaced out really far apart. If your dog starts coughing a lot, or seems like they're struggling to catch their breath, especially if they have any other health issues going on, call your vet ASAP. These breathing changes can be signs that something more serious is going on, and you want to make sure they're getting the best possible care, okay? Chapter 4. Empty bowls and picky eaters' decreased appetite. Okay, so you know how your dog is usually a total garbage disposal, right? Like, they'd eat anything you put in front of them and then stare you down for more? Yeah, well, when a dog's nearing the end, their appetite can take a serious nosedive. Suddenly, even the tastiest treats are met with a resounding meh. It's like their internal food. Yes, button has been switched to food. Not really feeling it. Now, if your dog is refusing to eat or drink anything at all, especially for more than a day, you need to call your vet. Dehydration can set in super fast, and we don't want that. Chapter 5. A frail frame, weight loss and muscle atrophy. This one is tough to see, both physically and emotionally. As your dog's body starts to shut down, you might notice them getting thinner. Their bones might become more prominent, and their muscles start to waste away, even if they're still eating a little bit. It's heartbreaking, I know. But here's the thing. Even though it's hard to see them like this, it's important to remember that they're not suffering. Your job is to make them as comfortable as possible during this time. Chapter 6. Accidents happen, loss of bladder and bowel control. Okay, this one is definitely not fun to talk about, but it's a reality for many dogs in their final days. As their bodies weaken, they might start having accidents in the house. And no, it's not because they're suddenly bad dogs who forgot their potty training. It's because their muscles and organs just aren't cooperating anymore. They might not even realize it's happening, or they might be too weak to get up and go outside. So, what do? Well, first of all, don't get mad at them. Lay down some puppy pads or just clean it up with love and understanding. Okay, imagine feeling super sick and disoriented, but you don't understand what's happening. That's kind of what's going on with your dog during this time. Their internal world is all out of whack, and it can manifest in some pretty confusing behaviors. They might become clingier than usual, practically attached to your hip because you're their safe place in all of this. Or they might do the opposite and withdraw, hiding away in a quiet corner because they just need some space to process everything that's going on. And then there are the vocalizations. You might hear them whining, whimpering, even howling at times, and it's heartbreaking because you don't know how to make it stop. The best thing you can do is just be there for them, whatever that looks like. Remember all those zoomies your dog used to have, running around like a furry little rocket? Yeah, those days might be over. As their bodies get weaker, even simple movements like walking, standing, or even just holding their head up can become a struggle. You might notice them stumbling more often, or having trouble getting up from a lying position. Their legs might seem stiff and shaky, and they might even lose their balance and fall over. Help them up, support their weight, and make sure they're not going to hurt themselves if they take a tumble. This one is tough, guys, really tough, because as much as we love our dogs, we can't always tell when they're in pain. They can't exactly turn to us and say, "Hey, my stomach really hurts," or "My joints feel like they're on fire." But there are signs, subtle cues that they give us if we know what to look for. They might become more withdrawn, hiding away from the family because they just want to be left alone. Or they might become more irritable, snapping or growling when you try to pet them because everything just hurts too much. Pay attention to their body language. They rely on you to be their advocate, to get them the help they need. Okay, this is going to sound strange, but as your dog gets closer to the end, you might notice that their paws, ears, and nose feel cold to the touch. It's because their circulation is slowing down and their body is starting to shut down. It's a natural part of the process, but it can still be jarring to experience. If you notice this happening, make sure they're as comfortable as possible. Wrap them in a warm blanket, hold them close, and let them know that you're there for them. Okay, we've all been there. Our dog eats something they shouldn't, and bam, vomiting city. But when it comes to dogs nearing the end, vomiting and diarrhea can be more than just a stomach bug. If your dog is throwing up or having diarrhea constantly, especially if it's accompanied by blood, lethargy, loss of appetite, or any other unusual symptoms, get them to the vet immediately. Alright, last one, and it's a quick one. You know how healthy dog gums are supposed to be that nice bubblegum pink color? Well, if you notice your dog's gums looking pale, white, bluish, or even yellowish, it's time for a vet visit stat. Changes in gum color can be a sign of a whole host of serious health problems, from anemia to heart issues to liver failure. Ugh, guys, I know this was a lot. Talking about this stuff is never easy, but it's so important to be informed. Knowing the signs that your dog is nearing the end can help you make those final days as peaceful and loving as possible. It's about recognizing when they need extra cuddles, when they need their space, when they need to see the vet. It's about being their advocate, their protector, their best friend until the very end. And remember, even though it hurts like hell to say goodbye, the love you shared with your dog, that never goes away. They'll always be a part of your heart. A furry little legend that you were lucky enough to share your life with.